Sometimes life just loses its meaning. There's no precise moment when it happens. It's not like someone flips a switch and everything goes dark. It's more like a fog that rolls in gradually, slowly obscuring what once seemed clear, important, vibrant. You wake up and feel no excitement. The days pass, all blending together. Achievements that once felt so desirable now ring hollow. Conversations don't move you anymore. And even when everything appears fine on the surface, something inside you is silently screaming for meaning. It's like being in a rudderless boat, adrift in open waters. You no longer know where you're headed, and even more profoundly, you no longer know who you are. Maybe you find yourself asking, where did that passion I once had go? Why does everything feel so dull now? Am I doomed to live like this, directionless? These questions ache, because they don't have easy answers. And worse, in the rush of modern life, there's rarely even space to ask them honestly. We live in an era that teaches us to produce, to deliver results, to appear put together, even when we're profoundly lost inside. We're bombarded daily with images of seemingly fulfilled lives, people who know what they want, who are on the right path. This fuels the idea that something's wrong with us for feeling confused. But what if being lost isn't a mistake but a calling? What if this emptiness you feel isn't a sign of failure, but a silent invitation to return to your essence? In Buddhist wisdom, there's a profound teaching. Anything built upon the ego will, sooner or later, crumble. And when it does, what remains is fertile ground, however quiet, however frightening. Ground where something new can grow, something truer, more connected, more free. This is for you, the one who feels adrift. Not to offer magic formulas or ready-made answers, but to walk beside you with compassion as we explore a different perspective. Gentler, deeper, more awake. Today, we'll look with wise eyes at this feeling of being lost. And perhaps we'll discover that losing yourself might be the first step toward truly finding yourself. Feeling lost is not a personal failing. In truth, it's a profoundly human experience. And in the light of Dharma, a sacred moment. The Buddha never promised a life without suffering. On the contrary, he began his teachings by acknowledging this very truth. Ordinary life is permeated with dissatisfaction. This is the first noble truth. Dukkha. Existential discomfort, emptiness, restlessness, these are part of everyone's journey. But the Buddha didn't stop there. He went further. He met this pain with curiosity, not fear. And he discovered suffering isn't random. It has causes, and therefore, it also has a path to its cessation. This is the quiet promise of Dharma. Pain can be a teacher, and losing your way may be the beginning of awakening. At the root of feeling lost often lies a misunderstanding. We believe we must find some grand, fixed, definitive purpose to justify our existence. But what if this very search, as we've been taught to pursue it, is the trap? Buddhism teaches that the self seeking this purpose is itself an impermanent construct. What we call I is merely thoughts, memories, desires, and fears, all transient. Just as a cloud is not the sky, our thoughts are not our essential being. What if it's precisely this identification with a fixed, demanding self, one that must be productive, useful, admired, certain, that imprisons us in emptiness? This state of confusion, this constant seeking for external fulfillment, is called samsara in Buddhism. The endless cycle of birth, death, and rebirth, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally. We repeat patterns, chase distractions, pursue goals, and for brief moments, it almost feels like we've found purpose. But soon the glow fades, and it all begins again. It's the cycle of almost there. Buddhist practice invites something radical: to stop. Rather than chasing a purpose we don't yet have, we're invited to return to presence, to sit, to breathe, to observe. And in that silence, we begin to understand what we seek isn't out there. It never was. In place of a fixed purpose, Buddhism offers something subtler and deeper: the possibility of living with mindful awareness. Purpose isn't a distant finish line. It's how you drink your tea, how you listen to someone, how you breathe between tasks. Being fully present in each action is, in itself, purpose enough. As we cultivate this presence, something remarkable happens. We begin finding meaning in small things. Life, even in its simplicity, starts blooming from within. Meditation, on the Buddhist path, isn't an escape from confusion. It's the space where, with gentleness, we may see ourselves clearly, perhaps for the first time. When we sit in silence, the mind's noise continues a while. But gradually, with practice and patience, we touch something deeper. An inner space that's always been there. Silent, calm, unshakable. It's in this space we find not some conceptual purpose, but the peace of being fully alive. Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh said, "We don't need to run after anything. We are already home, here and now." At this point in the journey, the pain of being lost reveals itself as opportunity, not to find some new label or mission, but to release our need for all the answers. True meaning blossoms in openness, not control. There was once a young man named Arun. From childhood, people told him he had a special spark. He was intelligent, kind, brimming with potential. Everyone around him had grand expectations. "You'll become someone important," they said. And Arun believed them. He grew up trying to fit into the molds the world presented. He studied hard, won awards, pursued a promising career. On the surface, everything seemed right, but inside something wasn't at peace. Even on days of victory, he felt a strange silence, an emptiness no applause could fill. Then one morning, without quite knowing why, he decided to leave. He told no one. He packed a few clothes, a water bottle, and set out toward the mountains, where he'd heard of an ancient monastery hidden deep in the forests. But he never made it there. On the third day of his journey, a thick fog swallowed the paths. The trail vanished. The trees all looked the same. The compass he carried no longer pointed anywhere. He was lost. Desperate, he tried retracing his steps. He ran. He shouted. He slipped on a slope. His backpack tore. His water ran out. Night fell. Alone in the cold forest, he sat beneath a tree and wept. "I came searching for purpose and got lost." That night something shifted. Arun, with nowhere left to go, fell silent. For the first time in years, he wasn't trying to fix anything. He just breathed. The sounds of the forest grew clearer. The rustling leaves, the distant trickle of water, the wind against his face. At first they seemed like distractions, but soon he realized there was harmony here. A calm, a rhythm he'd forgotten. Then came soft footsteps. An old monk emerged from the trees carrying a simple wooden staff and eyes like still water. He sat beside Arun without a word. Shaken, Arun poured out his heart. "Master, I don't know who I am anymore. I don't know what I came seeking. I don't know what to do with my life." The old man smiled and replied gently, "Then perhaps you're ready to begin." Arun looked bewildered. "What do you mean? When you thought you knew who you were, you walked paths drawn by others. Now that you're lost, you can hear the sound of your own footsteps. But I'm afraid." Naturally, the ego fears silence because in it, it ceases to exist. But it's in this silence that the real you is born. The monk extended his hand, and Arun took it, not as someone finding a savior, but as one waking from a long sleep. In the days that followed, the old man offered no answers, taught no doctrines. He simply walked with Arun through the forest, teaching him to observe. "See this leaf. It doesn't know its purpose, yet it dances with the wind. See the stream, it doesn't know where it's going, yet it flows with trust." The forest, once a place of loss, became a temple. And there, in the silence of the branches and the companionship of his own breath, Arun discovered something precious. Being lost wasn't a mistake. It was the call to return to life's simplicity, where each mindful step is itself the purpose. This story is symbolic yet profoundly real, because at some point we are all Arun, lost between paths, exhausted by expectations, quietly seeking a master who often already dwells within us. If you feel lost right now, breathe. Not as a mechanical act, but as a homecoming. Inhale with presence. Exhale with gentleness, because perhaps more important than finding purpose is remembering how to be whole within yourself. In Buddhist wisdom, there's no demand to become extraordinary, only a constant invitation to awareness, to wake up to this moment, to dwell in what already is, to see clearly what's always been here. Being lost on this path isn't spiritual weakness. It's where the ego dissolves just enough to see reality with beginner's eyes. This very disorientation is where many began awakening, not because they understood, but because they finally allowed themselves not to know. And in this not knowing, true learning blossoms. Try this. Pause for 3 minutes today. Just observe your breath. Don't change anything. When your mind wanders, as it will, guide it back tenderly. Instead of chasing answers, live with good questions. What feels alive in me today? What brings me peace, however briefly? What parts of myself have I stopped listening to? Sip tea mindfully. Feel sunlight on your skin. Listen to music that touches your soul. Small things don't fix everything, but they light up cloudy days. Remember, feeling lost doesn't mean you're failing. It means something in you is ripening, something that may no longer accept autopilot living. In the Buddhist view, purpose isn't a trophy to win. It's the continuous state of presence. When you live consciously, when your actions flow from a calm heart rather than an anxious mind. Purpose isn't out there. It reveals itself in how you inhabit each moment. As Thich Nhat Hanh said, the miracle isn't walking on water. It's walking on earth with full awareness. Perhaps what your soul longs for isn't a new plan, but new eyes. Eyes that find meaning, not in destinations, but in steps. Not in recognition, but in felt truth. Not in some ideal future, but in the now, pulsing here with all that you are. Being lost can be the start of greater freedom, because only those who allow themselves to pause can truly begin anew. If you've come this far, know this. There's a quiet strength in you longing to awaken, a part of you that, even through weariness, still seeks the light. And that is sacred. No matter how long you've felt adrift, the path back to yourself is never too far. It begins with your next breath, your next act of kindness, your next silence met with compassion. The spiritual journey isn't about escaping the world or becoming some ideal. It's about coming home to yourself, about realizing that even without clear answers, there's always been a space of peace within, waiting for you. You don't need everything figured out to move forward. You only need to take one step at a time, with awareness, with presence, with heart. Here at Modern Monk Wisdom, every video is a reminder. You're not alone. Your pain has a place to be held. Your search is valid, and your silence is fertile. If this message touched something in you, take one deep breath now. Feel embraced by this presence that asks nothing of you. It simply is. If you'd like to continue this journey of awakening, subscribe to the channel. Each week we share teachings, reflections, and stories to nourish your soul. Leave a comment below. How do you navigate feeling lost? What topics would you like us to explore? Your words might touch someone else sitting in silence waiting for connection. Until next time, may you find peace in each step, and even without knowing the destination, may you feel the beauty of being present on the path.